I've asked you enough questions, and I have given you the opportunity to ask me a question, anything that you want. The only caveat is that you also have to answer the same question. I don't know what it is, so I'm going to strap myself in and hand it over to you.
Well, I thought about this, and you said anything, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I was going to go down that road, and then, I didn't want to put you on the spot if not knowing your demographic or anything. So I decided to keep it within the realm of what it is that we do. And the question that I have is, there's two camps out there, people that run webinar programs. There's people who think that the platforms don't matter and that they are, a dime a dozen. And then there are people that will only use the most enterprise, kind of ready, platform out there. I know that you've produced shows on everything. And I also know your background. You've been on 24 and different places like that. And I also know that I work for a company that provides a platform. So this might be a bit of a loaded question, but what are your thoughts on the role and the value and how important platform is in, putting on a good webinar, a good webcast, a good virtual show?
Great question. I think on the back of everything we just spoke about in this show, in this session, the style, the format, and the delivery of the content, in my view, is the star. And that can happen on any live stream, provided you can get an audience to attend that, right? There are elements that will allow you to engage more. So if it's a live stream on any live streaming platform and there's no real way of asking questions or engaging with something, then you have to build something in and attach it to it if it hasn't got it. So that's a shortfall, and that is important. I think it depends on what you're trying to achieve, but if you do want that engagement, that conversation, that interactivity, that feeling of being heard and being involved, then yes, you do need those elements. I think there is a sort of inflection point where the platform has everything you could possibly think of, and there are very few companies in the world that will use everything, and certainly no single team. A large enterprise business, yes, one team will use this and other team will use that, and as a company, as an enterprise business, they will use all aspects of it. But there's by default very few businesses that probably are that size. So I think that there is a sweet spot of features and functionality that will be used, and after which it becomes distracting of, should we use this? And this is also available. And all of a sudden you have this kind of this monolith of all these different things on it that actually nobody's ever going to use. And, there might be one user on the webinar that will engage with everything because that's what they like. But in reality, it doesn't really add value. So I think in my view, the platforms that are contributing to the value of the webinar are the ones that do the basics really, really well, that allow for that conversation to happen, that give you the insight as the organizer to say, okay, well, this is actually what happened in the background. We know that so-and-so did this, and this percentage of people did that, and actually get the insight rather than just offering that to the audience, but actually give the organizers the insight and the value to say, here, we serve this easily up to you in a dashboard, and this is what you can learn from that. So in that sense, I think, you want to serve certain audiences, but there's a core audience that makes up 80% of your business, and if you can do that really well, then that's ultimately where your audience is going to, your target audience as a platform, for example, is going to engage most, because they will have the most amount of value for a reasonable fee. And anything that goes beyond that is rarely used, and if it is required, then it's justifiable to charge extra for that or develop that. But that's where I would see. I think the content in itself, I think we can't say anything other than that after what we spoke about today.
No, we can't.
The content and the experience is still the key, but you don't want to leave yourself short by missing out on engagement. That's I think my view on that.
I couldn't agree more. Because I've been doing this for so long, I can tell you that the first platforms that I was delivering webcasts or these types of webinars on were not very good compared to what we have now. And not only that, the presenters weren't as comfortable. There was a lot that went on then and now. And I used to say that when people talked about, I remember people like, what do you think about Second Life? Or what do you think about, the metaverse or this, that, or the other? I go, in the end, I and my team and people who have done this for 20 years, doesn't matter if it's hologram technology, which Cisco created and put into a basement. You can see it at Yankee Stadium, but we don't use it in corporate con because it's weird. I could produce a virtual event on a hologram because it doesn't matter about the medium. It's about the show and it's about the content. So I don't think that platform matters that much at all. I mean, as far as putting on a great event. What I know based around, what it is that I see every single day and the fact that, there's things that I'm able to do now from my home studio without help, that know that a lot of platforms will make it all easier for you, make it easier to fully understand your audience and where they are better engaged and at what points you lost them, make it easier to produce something that looks like a show, lower thirds, that kind of thing. But in the end, it really comes down to the conversation that we had today. This is what you want to strive for with your program, with any sort of program that you're doing. And then afterwards, look at the platform to meet those marketing analytics, production needs. But it doesn't matter what platform it's on. This would have been just as good no matter what is being put on.
Yeah, I agree, and I think great question. Thank you for that, and good to hear your view on that as well. I don't want to ignore the Star Wars thing though, or at least the science fiction. I was just thinking when you were talking about that, there are so many science fiction movies out there that paint a picture of what the world will be like in the future, and you watch it, and so some of the years that were in the movies, 2019 or whatever it was, already passed, and it doesn't look anything like it. And
where's my flying car? I was promised it as a child, and I don't have it. So
the hoverboard, Back to the Future.
Yeah.
But I think in reality, it's the same with platforms. It's the kind of all the things that holograms and things and ideas and Second Life and all those things that are possible in people's imaginations in reality are not necessarily practical, or like you say, sometimes a bit weird. So I think what we're seeing 20 years on from when we both started is still a version of the platform that we saw originally of the experience, but just better.